Hi everybody, Desert Guardian here. Today I am going to go through installing the safety removal frame plugs from Smith & Wesson into the M&P 2.0. So as you know, the 2.0, well actually all the M&Ps from the Shield all the way up to the full size, you can get either with or without the ambidextrous safety on it. When I bought the 2.0, the only one available was with the manual safety, so I called up Smith & Wesson and they sent me out a set of the frame plugs that fill up the gap. So if you want to remove the manual safety, it is an option. So we're going to go through that. Please bear with me. This takes a little bit of patience and a little bit of finagling, but we'll get through it. So we'll go ahead and clear the gun and disassemble it. Set the slide over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull out this one piece here, which kind of goes around the trigger block back there, and replace it with these two little frame plugs, because there's going to be gaps on both sides. So we want to make sure that it looks nice and clean once you pull the safety off. I've seen people pull the safety and not put the frame plugs in, and you know, it doesn't look horrible, but I like it to have a nice clean fit and finish. So let's get out my trusty beat up roll of tape. First thing we're going to do is we're going to pull this back pin out. Now you guys have seen me pull the pins on Glocks. This one is a little bit bigger. It runs an 1/8 inch punch, and they tend to be a little bit stiffer in the M&P for some reason. So we'll give that a quick tap. Let's see here. Let me grab my Glock armorer's tool. A little bit narrower. There we go. That guy pops out. We'll set that aside. And that is out. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull the whole trigger block assembly out. Now this can get kind of stiff. So let me grab a tool here. And we're going to give that a quick wedge underneath. There we go. Don't force anything, just ease it up, because it's actually, I'm going to leave the trigger bar in it. So this is going to come up and out this way. So we're just going to work it up a little bit until I get to the point where I can get loose of the trigger bar. See how it rocks forward a little bit there. If my fingers work, whoop, and there it goes. All right, so thankfully I have a large table. So there's your trigger bar assembly there. It's a trigger block that just popped out, and here's the safety that I was talking about. So, you know, it's one large piece that sits in there. So it goes essentially underneath the whole trigger block assembly. So that's why you have to pull it out, and see the pin goes through here, holds it all in place. So we're going to set that aside. And now we've got the frame plugs, which Smith & Wesson was so nice to send out to me. Now there is a right and a left. So you can see one of them just looks kind of like a Lego. The other one has a bit of an L shape to it. So first one we're going to put in the right side. And that's this one that has the kind of an L shape to it. So I'm going to drop that guy in. Now they are kind of a parallelogram. So if you can do it, they fit better if you are able to get it in and push it out from the inside. Now that's kind of a tiny three-hand operation. You can kind of force them down from the top, but if you are able to get them in from the inside out, it's going to be a little bit cleaner fit and tighter fit. So there we go. There's one. As you can see with that one in, it provides a little shelf here, because we are taking out all this stuff that kind of held the trigger block in place. So that's a nice little spacer, holds everything where it needs to be. Okay, and the left-hand side, you can see that side of the frame is a lot thicker. So it's got a lot more to it. So it's got a bigger plug. So what we're going to do is this trigger bar out of the way. And you know what? I'm going to grab this one with my tweezers here. Okay. See if I can get it started that way. I swapped these out on my M&P 45 Compact, and I knew this one just gave me a whole bunch of trouble trying to use my fingers, because jamming your fingers down in this hole is no easy task. So there you go. So we've got the right side in, the left side in, and now we'll put the trigger block assembly back in. But before we do, take a look at it. So right here on the left-hand side of the trigger block is a little, there it goes, spring-loaded piece of metal with a little spring on it. Now, this piece here, hopefully you can see it okay. So this guy here is, the purpose of this is to put some spring tension on the safety itself. You know, so when you flip this up and down, it actually rocks on this little piece here and has a little spring tension. Now that piece will actually get in the way of the plug when you put it back together. So that comes out. At this point, it's useless. It's not something that serves any function on the gun now that the safety's been removed. And next on the right-hand side, this little channel here, that's where the trigger bar ends up, which would be that little piece right here. So when you're putting this back together, so I'm going to do this in a really visible way, pop this up, and we'll make sure the trigger bar is sitting exactly where it needs to be. It is kind of a little bit, there we go. We're sitting right there. Now, without knocking the frame plugs out, gently get this guy back where it belongs and into place. It is a precise fit. It's kind of a tight fit, as you saw when I was taking it out. So let's make sure I don't knock these guys out. That's always fun. That's what I ran into when I did these on my M&P 45C. That took me about 6 tries to get it right. So, all right, let's get this back here. And we'll drop that into place. There we go. Once it starts to slide in, you can kind of feel it. Drop that in. And then we'll grab a little armorer's tool and make sure these holes are lined up. Needs to go down a little bit more. Okay, so our trigger bar is in the correct spot. If I can get this to drop in a little tiny bit more, it's still sitting kind of high. I can still get my screwdriver in there. Let's grab the... All right, where is my pointy tool? Let's see if I can center it. All right, yep, it's not down in there correctly yet. And don't be afraid to give it a little bit of a nudge. It is a tight squeeze, so a little tap there. All right, it's almost to the correct position. There we go. Back a tiny bit. Be careful with this. You don't want to bend the extractor if you push it back like that. Or the ejector, I mean, sorry. All right, now we are getting there. Seems to want to be riding on this side frame plug just a tiny bit, so we'll make sure that's nudged into the correct position here. Same with this side. Okay. All right, so now the armorer's tool wants to go all the way through. Let's see if I can put the pin in without it giving me too much trouble. Okay, so now we have trigger block back in, frame plugs are in, looking sharp. So let's throw the slide back on. There we go. So there's the frame plugs, direct from Smith & Wesson. Now, as you can see, there is a little bit of a line here. And also, don't be afraid to give it a quick nip with your X-Acto if you've got anything sticking out. But other than that, nice clean look. So we went from having these big bars on here to being a nice flush fit. Gets rid of that frame safety. So there we are. We're good to go. That is the M&P 45 2.0 frame safety plug install. So if you have any questions, concerns, or any comments, feel free to comment below. I'm always around to answer them. I'll get back to them as soon as I can. I hope this helped out a little bit, and hope you got a little amusement out of me struggling with it. As for now, enjoy. Desert Guardian, out.